After seeing a Shadowhunter, yes, it's Perfect Suppression that I'm talking about. Don't click away yet, because trust me, you probably want to hear this. If you have a Shadowhunter in your roster and you want to get it 5 rows, hear me out. Perfect Suppression is not depressing. It's not Perfect Depression. It's actually a really fun build, and I've had Shadowhunter ever since almost the release. When I reached Northwern, I used my Power Pass on the Shadowhunter, and I played Demonic Impulse for a bit. Then I switched to Perfect Suppression to do tier 1 and tier 2 towers to get materials, since Demonic Impulse is pretty bad in those tiers. And then I switched back to Demonic Impulse on tier 3. And now when I tried to get it 5 rows, and after seeing the prices for Demonic Impulse, I decided that I'm gonna spec into Perfect Suppression, and the result is actually quite decent in my opinion. So these are the engravings. And it's not blocking now. I have a Grudge, Ambush Master, Raid Captain, Perfect Suppression, and Adrenaline. Raid Captain works with this because you have a tripod that increases your movement speed right here by 27. So I already overcapped movement speed with this buff. And you always have a support by your side too. So, you know, this is actually really good with Perfect Suppression. And Raid Captain is pretty cheap because most builds cannot use it unless they use Spirit of Absorption, but at that point you're using a single engraving in the slots of 2. That's horrible. Anyways, with Shadowhunter, getting this build is actually very easy. I bought Perfect Suppression books. You can also run this build with Perfect Suppression level 1, but I found it to be cheaper using Perfect Suppression level 3. If you go to the market right now and search up Perfect Suppression, it actually rose to 800. When I bought these, it was 500. Now it's 800. Depending on your server, this might be cheaper or higher. So use it as in your own discretion. Look at your server. If it's good for you, use it. Otherwise, if you have 2 combat engraving books like I do now, I have Grudge and Curse Doll, then that would be even better, because you use Perfect Suppression level 1, and I think that's higher damage. I'm not sure. Actually, yes it is. Perfect Suppression level 1 is more damage. So ignoring the cost of my Grudge books, which costed me around 190,000 gold, I spent 10k on Perfect Suppression, maybe 11k gold for Perfect Suppression books. And then on my accessories, I spent overall 25,000. I also cheaped out on my necklace, since I have double legendary engraving books. I was able to cheap out on my necklace and get 3 engravings on each engraving, and then also have higher quality because of that, and that allowed me to have higher stats, so that's very helpful. For my gems, I just chucked some level 7s from the stars that I had that I haven't sold yet, and some random level 5s. The gems, I rolled them into correct spots, so they're actually useful. And for my cards, I use Crit Rate because I don't actually have the Light of Salvation set yet. I'm sad. Yeah, those are the engravings. It's how I built this character. It was very easy because it was very cheap. No one builds this character, so I got 5 engravings very easily, and this character is now ready for bussing, which is quite amazing for the amount of gold I spent on it. So if you're interested in making this character, then I'm gonna show you the skills now. Alright, so for the skills, I use Howl level 7. I have Wealth Rune on it, Damage Simplification, and Roaching Power. If you're looking for what tripods to buy to put on your gear to increase your abilities tripods, and Roaching Power should be the first one you buy, because it's actually the most important one. It gives you more meter, which all of your damaging skills use, so you will do more damage that way. I did not know about this when I bought my tripods, so I don't have it, but this is the most important tripod that you should be buying. Thrust Impact, I use Swift Thrust, Deep Thrust, Spectral Explosion, and I pop the Quick Recharge rune because I use it at the end of my combo, so it works perfectly. Demonic Slash, I use Damage Amplification, Nimble Movement, and Chain Charge. Nimble Movement is also a useful tripod, but I keep that as level 3 on my gear because there's better level 4 tripods to get, and level 3 on your gear is sufficient for this. And I pop a Purify rune, you can pop a Rage rune, but I'm just lazy at switching that. Next skill is Demolition. I use the Gale Wind because it's a multi-hit move and I don't like animation lock, so I just make that quicker. Weak point detection, wave attack, and encroachment release. I have them all level 5s because it's one of the highest damaging abilities that you have. Rising Claw is one of your meter gains. I pop weak point detection on it, critical blow, and grasp of death. For the rune I use bleed, and that's pretty much it for this ability. I don't really pop tripods on the demon meter, on the demonic skills. Decimate, I use quick prep, weak point detection, cruel hand, wealth. You can pop higher tripods on this, but only do them as like at the bottom of your list. At the top of your list, you should be putting skills, putting tripods on your human skills, like the normal skills, like Cruel Cutter, Demolition, First Impact. So we have Cruel Cutter here, Bleed Effect. Some people use Nimble Movement. I prefer Bleed Effect, but Nimble Movement also works. It stacks with your Raid Captain. You have your Earth Attack, and then Encroachment Release. So preferably you would have level 5 Earth Attack over here, but I have level 4, and I pop Conviction on that. You have Sharpen Cut. I have Judgment on it, so I use Cruel Cutter, Sharpen Cut to pop my Conviction Judgment. This is my Enhanced Slash, Vertical Slash, and Critical Cut. These are my tripods. And that's about it. Those are the skills that I use. So for your gems, it depends. The cooldown gems are nice and all, but Shadowhunter has a lot of mana problems, so even if you have super high cooldown gems, it won't really work for you unless you somehow solve the mana problems. Common ways to solve them are for content where you don't have a support, where you might not have a support, like Guardian raids. You can switch out 2 of your pieces for Nightmare Flower instead of full entropy. You put 2 Nightmare Flower pieces, so you have mana usage reduction. That saves your mana. That solves your mana problems. And then you can also use mana food, and then preferably you have a support like a Bard or a Paladin that gives you mana recovery buffs. That way, with Conviction Judgment, you will not run out of mana. That way you can have higher cooldown gems. But mana is pretty annoying to deal with Shadowhunter anyways, especially if you don't have those things. So I usually have 2 Nightmare pieces, unless I have a good support with high tripods on mana recovery. So that's why I don't really have cooldown gems. And then for the DPS test, well, what am I using? 2 Nightmare Flower pieces right now. My weapon is pretty low, it's only 17, 64 quality. So it doesn't do as much damage as it should. If I upgrade my weapon to like 20 or 19, I would do way more damage. But this is the damage that I have right now, so let's see what will happen. I'm using 2 Nightmare pieces right now, so let's go. So after a minute test, this is my damage per second, and I think it's pretty good damage for a very cheap build and horrible weapon. You would do way more damage if you upgraded your weapon and the quality and the gems, because with using 2 Nightmare pieces, there's no reason not to have cooldown gems. So I'm losing a lot of DPS to that, and yeah, like I like this damage for the amount of investment I did in this character. And its damage is actually higher if you have full entropy set. So I think this build is actually pretty good, and if you have a Shadowhunter, you should be utilizing this build instead of the Demonic Impulse, because Demonic Impulse prices for now are not very cost efficient, and if this is your alt and not your main, I don't think you want to spend hundreds of thousands of gold just for engraving books for a single character. So yeah, use this build and it will serve you well. Bye.